Let's dive into the shocking, mind-blowing truth behind the 1980s Central American migrant crisis. In 1980, under 100,000 Salvadorans lived in the U.S. A decade later, that number exploded eightfold. A massive, sudden exodus of Guatemalans and Salvadorans just abandoned their homes, fleeing straight toward the U.S. But why? Why were hundreds of thousands of people abruptly forced to leave their entire lives behind? The terrifying truth? These vicious civil wars were actually the direct result of U.S. government intervention. The CIA orchestrated Guatemala's 1954 coup, and the U.S. actively armed right-wing death squads across the region. The scale is just staggering. Washington pumped $3.7 billion into El Salvador for weapons alone. The human toll was absolutely devastating. U.S.-backed regimes and death squads literally slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people. So how exactly did the U.S. treat these displaced victims when they finally arrived seeking safety? Legally, the 1980 Refugee Act guaranteed political asylum to anyone fleeing severe persecution, period. Yet we saw massive hypocrisy. Washington welcomed Nicaraguans, but aggressively interned migrants fleeing U.S.-backed regimes in El Salvador. The numbers prove it. Over 25% of Nicaraguans fleeing U.S. enemies were granted asylum. But Salvadorians and Guatemalans escaping American-funded death squads, they faced a brutal 97% rejection rate. Why? Because admitting they were refugees meant admitting the U.S. government was complicit in the bloodshed. Shielded by Cold War cover-ups, most Americans had absolutely no idea their taxes were funding brutal regimes. It actually took until a stunning 1999 UN Truth Commission for this mind-blowing hypocrisy to fully surface. The commission concluded the U.S. directly supported illegal state operations, practically enabling the massive extermination of defenseless communities. So, it leaves us with this. If you fund the fire, how can you lock out those escaping the flames?